Canto 1, Chapter 6, Text 21. So this is where we ended last time, where after giving darshan to Narad Muni, the Supreme Lord spoke, I regret that during this lifetime, you will not be able to see me anymore. Those who are incomplete in service and who are not completely free from all material taints can hardly see me. Shukradiyat darshitam rupam etat kamaya te nagaha matkama sanakaye sadhu sarvan munchati richayan. O virtuous one, you have only once seen my person, and this is just to increase your desire for me. Because the more you hanker for me, the more you will be freed from all material desires. So, this is a very important thing to understand. Krishna gives us miracles, Krishna gives us ecstasy, Krishna gives us wonderful realizations, association. When we are having wonderful kirtan, wonderful association, what is happening in the process is it's a teaser for the movie where Krishna is giving us this is what it's like in the spiritual world. You want this? Keep moving, right? So it enhances our growth direction. It enhances our excitement to grow in our devotional service. So with Narad Muni, Krishna came and said, I'm here for you, in the heart. I'm present. He gave his darshan and and then he vanished. And he said, you will never see me again. Here I am, gave you darshan, but I want to encourage you. That's why I give you my darshan. So to encourage us, Krishna gives us realizations, he gives us miracles, he gives us devotee association, he gives us guru, he gives us sadhu, he gives us shastra, right? So this all for encouragement. In fact, Krishna comes personally to encourage us. Because when Krishna comes, we through his pastimes, we get attracted to him. And that's what he wants. He is marketing himself so that we can understand about that which we never knew existed. And then, as lost souls, we can claim back and go back home, back to Godhead. So that's the goal here. That the more hankering we have for Krishna, the more we get freed from material desires. The less hankering we have for Krishna, the more attachment we grow for material desires. Okay. Snehal Mataji, next verse would you like to read?
सतसेवया दीर्घयापि जाता मयि दृढामतिः हित्वा वद्यमिमं लोकं गन्तामजजनतामसि. By service of the absolute truth, even for a few days, a devotee attains firm and fixed intelligence in me. Consequently, he goes on to become my associate in the transcendental world after giving up the present deplorable material worlds.
By service of the absolute truth, even for a few days, a devotee attains firm and fixed intelligence in me. So even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Swalpam api asya hi dharmasya trayato mahate bhayat. That slight little movement in this direction, and one's greatest fear is overcome. So here it is said, steady intelligence, the outcome of even a little bit of bhakti. By service of the absolute truth, even for a few days, a devotee attains firm and fixed intelligence in me. So what is firm and fixed intelligence? Intelligence is that which governs the mind. Firm and fixed intelligence is where you take a vow and you don't move. Even when the mind sometimes wonders, what if, what if, what if? The firm and fixed intelligence says no, that is not an option. Stick to adhere to the promises you've made. The firm and fixed intelligence is where you don't move from your direction, from your aim. It permanently gives you a direction towards your goal. Now, when does that happen? That happens when your doubts are cleared. So, doubts, when you have them, you must ask those questions, get those doubts cleared. Because unless doubts are cleared, you will not be able to have firm and fixed intelligence. Consequently, he goes on to become my associate in the transcendental world after giving up the present deplorable material worlds. So, by service to the absolute truth, even for a few days, a devotee attains firm and fixed intelligence and he becomes Krishna's associate, Parshad, in the transcendental world. Imagine that, right? Uh, you know, for our country, the most powerful person we have is Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister. Now, those who are advisors to the Prime Minister, those who are secretariat to the Prime Minister, those who are, uh, you know, direct cabinet ministers of the Prime Minister, these are all associates of the Prime Minister. So, to be even at that level, one has to be extremely qualified. Not Tom, Dick, and Harry will be associating with the most powerful man in the country. Now, what to speak of the most powerful man in the universe, the most powerful man in creation, right? Spiritual, material worlds combined. We are getting access to become an associate of Krishna just by few days of service to the Lord, right? Let's say you end up going to Rath Yatra, you see Lord Jagannath on the chariot, you pull the chariot, you eat some prasadam, you say Hare Krishna, Hari Bol. And by few days of us, service to the Lord, one gets to become an associate of the Lord in the spiritual world. That's the kind of merciful nature Krishna has. By service of the absolute truth, even for a few days, a devotee attains firm and fixed intelligence in me. Consequently, he goes on to become my associate in the transcendental world after giving up the present material world. Now, that doesn't mean we serve only for a few days, right? I hope that our attachment or attraction for Krishna is more than that, that we're not keeping a score. Okay, been 3 days, done, Krishna, moving on, doing something else. No, right? I hope we have taste for Krishna consciousness, that we can continue to serve and invest in that relationship, regardless of that Krishna is saying, okay, 3 days, 5 days, few days, and you become an associate. That's Krishna's kindness. But from our side, we reciprocate with Krishna's love. We want to be with him. We are building, or what we already had, a forgotten relationship with Krishna. We're reigniting that. Okay, next verse, Mataji.
मतिर्मयि निबद्धेय न विपद्येत कैर्चितः प्रजास्तर्गनिरोधेऽपि स्मृतिच्छ स्मृतिच्छ मद अनुग्रहात्. Intelligence engaged in my devotion cannot be thwarted at any time, even at the time of creation as well as at the time of annihilation. Your remembrance will continuous by my mercy.
So intelligence engaged in devotion cannot be thwarted at any time. So if you use your intelligence in bhakti, it cannot be refuted. Thwarted means refuted, right? Even at the time of creation as well as the time of annihilation, your remembrance will continue by my mercy. So he's telling Narad Muni that you saw me. So Krishna appeared in front of Narad Muni. He's saying, you'll remember me always, regardless of the situation, whatever happens. So when we're using something in bhakti, they say either use it or lose it, right? So, for example, let's say I have a skill. I can sing, or I can bike, or I can swim, right? If I don't use the skill, the saying goes, use it or lose it. One might forget that skill. But, of course, they say if you learn cycling once, you'll never forget in your life. But there's like a little gazapita you have to like learn again quickly and you're back on track. But when it comes to Krishna consciousness, whatever you use in Krishna's service, whatever skills you use, wealth you use, intelligence you use, whatever you use, that just never goes away, right? Krishna doesn't forget. He's very grateful. And Yogakshemam Vahamyam. Whatever you lack, I carry. Whatever you have, I sustain, right? Intelligence engaged in my devotion cannot be thwarted at any time. Even at the time of creation, as well as time of annihilation, your remembrance will continue by my mercy. So one might think, what if I can't remember Krishna at the time of death? Because we are Krishna's devotees and Krishna loves us very much, he will somehow or other make us remember him, even if we are not in a situation to remember him. Somehow he will inject himself into our consciousness so that we can come back to him. That is Krishna's assurance. So Krishna's mercy is there, but our effort is also important. We must put in our effort also, and Krishna will do his part. Okay, next verse.
एतावदुक्तो परराम तन्महद भूतं नभो लिङ्गमलिङ्गमीश्वरम् अह च तस्मै महता महीयसे शीर्णावनां विदधे अनुकम्पितः. Then that supreme authority, personified by sound and unseen by eyes, but the most wonderful, stopped speaking. Feeling a sense of gratitude, I offered my obeisances unto him, bowing my head.
So once Krishna stopped speaking, there's natural gratitude within the heart, right? Uh, this paying obeisances, it's like natural. It's not like somebody's telling him. He's a 5-year-old boy. By hearing the Lord, by interacting with him, he feels like, he's so kind. The Lord has appeared to me. He spoke to me. Let me offer my respectful obeisances. So the same way, Srila Prabhupada, when he would come to any place, these are Western devotees, African devotees, Chinese devotees. Nobody would teach them that you need to pay respects to a sadhu, pay your obeisances. Just by seeing Srila Prabhupada, he's a very he's a person of great stature, right? And seeing his Krishna consciousness is visible, is palpable, perceivable. So just seeing him, devotees would fall down at his feet, feeling insignificant in front of him and begging for his mercy so they can become Krishna conscious. So it is a natural human tendency to be subservient to devotion, whether it's Aborigines, in Australia, whether it's the Amazonian tribes, right? If you just see humanity when left alone, humanity naturally is subservient to higher power. Now, a tribal group might call a fountain or a waterfall God, nature as God, sun as God. The ancient Incas, the Mayan Empire, when there would be a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse, they would be doing sacrifice of children and things like that because they thought something bad is going to happen. Now, I don't know how true or false they are, but that's what they say. Now, the point is, even in that time, even in such a remote part of the world, they were not in Aryan civilization or Vedic civilization. They were a little away. Still, there was that thing about some higher power. So it is natural to human beings to be theistic. It is the unnecessary knowledge that comes in from not so authorized sources like Darwin and people like that, who are communists, atheists, anti God. And they will say things, and it seems like, okay, he has a beard, he is old, he is intelligent, perhaps, must be true. We have been told anyway, India's backward class. Anything a white man says is true, anything a brown man says is false, right? So accordingly, we become confused. Some become agnostic, some become atheistic. But natural tendency of the soul is to be theistic. If you leave a person to nature, they will naturally find something to worship. And we see the evidence in So many tribes, especially those that have not been touched by modern civilization, we see that there is always some form of worship that is there because human beings by nature are theistic. So here, that natural uh, respect for the Lord, the gratitude, made little Narad Muni in his past life to pay obeisances to the Lord, bowing down his head. Does anybody else wants to read? I don't want to deprive anybody of reading opportunity from Bhagavatam. It's a great privilege. If nobody wants to read, then Snehal Mataji can continue. But somebody wants to read. Krishna, want to read? Go ahead.
Uh, okay.
You want to ask a question?
No. I want to read.
Yeah.
1.6.26 नमानि नमानि अनन्तस्य हत त्रपपठान् गुह्यानि भद्राणि कृतानि च स्मरन् गम पर्यतमस्तुस्तमन गतस्पृह कलं प्रतीक्षं विमादो विमत्सर. Translation. Thus I began chanting the holy name and fame of the Lord by repeating recitation, ignoring all the formalities of the material world. Such chanting and remembering of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are benedictory. So doing, I travelled all over the earth, fully satisfied, humble, and unenvious.
So Narad Muni is saying, thus I began chanting the holy name and fame of the Lord by repeated recitation, ignoring all the formalities of the material world. So, chanting the name and fame. That's what we do. That's what devotees do. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, same thing. In the Chatushloki verses, says, you know, devotees find happiness in glorifying the Lord and discussing his glories. So naturally, here we see Narad Muni, who is naturally a devotee by the blessings of the Bhakti Vedantas, is now that he has seen the Lord, he's chanting the holy name and the glories of the Lord, ignoring all the formalities of the material world. Formalities as in, oh, don't do this, don't do that. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wouldn't care that sannyasi is supposed to be this way, that way, gravity. He would just go on the streets and chant Hare Krishna. And those who are simple hearted would get attracted to Mahaprabhu. And they would come and they'll chant and dance with him and go into ecstasy, right? Chanting the holy name with Mahaprabhu. So such chanting and remembering of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are benedictory. So doing, I traveled all over the earth, fully satisfied, humble, and unenvious. This is the sign of a sannyasi. That's what sannyasis do. They don't stay in a place for more than 3 days because they should not get attached to a certain facility, certain residence, certain things. So the sannyasi is supposed to travel. Parivrajak acharya. So when you travel, you're traveling, and what you do, you glorify the Lord, you chant the holy names, and you give Krishna consciousness to as many people as possible. Today, through social media, many people are able to do that in a much wider way. Broadcasting the holy names, broadcasting Krishna consciousness far and wide. So whatever means we have, it is that which gives us happiness. That glorifying the Supreme Lord, because he this is natural to the soul. This is what the soul loves to do. If we go to the spiritual world, that's what everybody is doing, glorifying the Supreme Lord. Krishna killed a demon, Krishna did this, Krishna stole butter, Krishna this, Krishna that. It's all the gossip about Krishna. He's a hero. In Bollywood, there are so many heroes. In cricket, there are so many heroes. Like people have their heroes of politicians and cricket and Bollywood and poetry and philosophy and freedom fighters and all of that. You go to the spiritual world, sorry, but there is only one hero, Krishna. And everybody's gossiping about that one hero. Sometimes people don't like that, so they come to the material world. It is a very, very tiny, insignificant minority, less than 2% of the souls, don't like that Krishna is being glorified. So they come to the material world, trying to enjoy it and becoming the center of attention wherever they can in that small little cocoon. But natural tendency of the soul is to glorify the Supreme Lord, chant the holy names, and be absorbed in Krishna's pastimes, activities, and everything that is there associated with the Supreme Lord. That is natural. That's why in Vrindavan, when you go, even today, right, everybody's like Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe, right? Different tones of Radhe Radhe. But rickshawala is telling you to move, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe, right? Cycle wala is telling you move aside, Radhe Radhe. So everybody's chanting the holy name. Everybody's chanting Krishna's name, Radharani's name. So even in Vrindavan, when you go, you get to see that, right? And I had the great fortune on my birthday, I had the desire to do parikrama of Vrindavan at night. So 10 p.m. to I think 1 a.m. I did the parikrama of entire Vrindavan. And it was so amazing. Everywhere you go, from the beggar to the drunkard, derelict, to the sannyasi, to the Ram Bhakta, to the Shiv Bhakta. Everybody is glorifying the Lord, even at night. Nighttime also, they are glorifying the Lord. Right? I went to Keshi Ghat. It was everybody's like all the beggars are asleep and everything. But there is one boatman somewhere chanting the holy name. Somebody's there, glorifying the Lord. Somebody's reading something. Right? There is one person who's glorifying the Lord Ram all night long. Apparently, he has been doing that for decades and decades and decades. Every night, all night, he'll glorify Lord Ram. So, like that, it's like that's the spiritual world. That's natural to the soul. That's what we do. And Narad Muni, in his past life, you know, being very fortunate and very enlightened at such an early age, thanks to the Bhaktivedanta devotees, that he was naturally going in that direction. After seeing the Lord, this was all that he had to do throughout his life, chanting the holy name and glorifying the Lord's fame. Right? That's what we do. Okay, somebody else wants to read? Okay, Masaji, you can read.
एवं कृष्णमतेर्ब्रह्मन् न सत्यस्यामलात्मनः कालः प्रादुर्भूतकाले तदादित् सौदामनि यथा. And so Brahmana Vedvyasa, in due to course of time, I, who was fully absorbed in thinking of Krishna, and who therefore had no attachments, being completely freed from all the material taints, met with that as lightning and illumination occurred simultaneously.
Okay, so thus chanting the holy name and glorifying the Supreme Lord, eventually everybody dies. So did Narad Muni in his past life. Being fully absorbed in thinking of Krishna, and who therefore had no attachments. So when you're fully absorbed in thinking of Krishna, what else is there? And being completely freed from all material taints, met with death. So this is a perfect death. Fully absorbed in Krishna without any attachment for mundane things. As lightning and illumination occurs simultaneously. So when you're attached to Krishna, you are averse to material things. Just like lightning and illumination occurs simultaneously. So when there's lightning, there is also light, illumination. So same way when there's Krishna absorption, there is detachment from Maya. How do we detach ourselves from Maya? By absorbing in Krishna. Next.
प्रयुज्यमाने मयिता शुद्धा भागवती तनुम् निर्वाणो नप्यतत पाच्य भौतिक. Having been awarded a transcendental body befitting and associated of the personality of Godhead, I quit the body made of 5 material elements, and thus all the acquired fruitive result of work karma stopped.
Okay. Having been awarded a transcendental body befitting an associate of the personality of Godhead, I quit the body made of 5 material elements. What are the 5 material elements? Anybody remembers? What is the body made up of? 5 elements.
Prabhuji, Prithvi, Jal, Akash, and Agni. Sorry,
Vayu.
Vayu. Yes.
Thank you, bro. So that's what this body is made up of: earth, water, fire, air, ether. And once he quit that body, he was awarded a transcendental body, befitting of an associate of the personality of Godhead. So Krishna said, right, you will become my associate. So Narad Muni is an associate of the Lord. He has such access to mercy. It is unthinkable. And Narad Muni is still there, right? He's still associate of the Lord and he's doing the Lord's work and he's going from material world to spiritual world to Vaikuntha. He has full access, right? It's like when there is a prime minister, the prime minister has full access to everything. So does his secretary. Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, Pradeep here.
Okay.
So Krishna has provided us all the material things, right? And now Krishna is saying that give up all the material things and surrender unto me.
No, he's not saying give up all the material things. He's saying
Okay.
give up the attachment for the material things.
Okay. Got it.
Two different things.
Right.
It's all Krishna's anyway. But when we are attached, when we think it's ours, that's the problem that pegs us down to the material world. But if we stop thinking it's ours and it's Krishna's and I should take care of it like it's Krishna's, whether it's wife, children, house, car, whatever it is, then there is no problem. It's seva, it's devotional service, no karma. So as I was saying, so when the prime minister has full access to things, so does his secretary, right? To a great degree, they have security clearance because whatever the prime minister knows, almost everything the secretary also knows. Now, that's a very privileged position. Same way, just like Krishna is free to roam anywhere he wants, any universe he wants, any planet he wants, right? Same way Narad Muni is free to roam entire creation. He's as free, almost as free as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's the beauty of being Krishna's devotee. Krishna is not the kind of God who just keeps power to himself. The more attached we are to Krishna, the more he allows us to be like him, right? So much so that in Vaikuntha, when you go pass through Vaikuntha, you will notice that there are these personalities who are Vishnu Dutas, right? Or just personalities who have Sarupya Mukti. They look just like the Supreme Lord, exactly like the Supreme Lord, because that's what their desire was, that the Lord is so beautiful. We also want to be like him. And that's the kind of mukti Lord has given. Sarupya mukti, that they look like the Supreme Lord. They have the golden helmet. They have Shankha Chakra Gada Padma. They have 4 hands. They have silk yellow clothing. They have bluish, blackish complexion. You can't distinguish. The only way to distinguish is the Srivatsa jewel and the little gray or I think white hair I think the Lord Narayan has on his chest. Through that, you can distinguish that this is Lord Narayan, but then everybody else looks like him, right? Not everybody else, but those who have Sarupya Mukti. Then there is Sayujya Mukti, those who become associates of the Lord, right? So there are different kinds of mukti that is there. And the Supreme Lord is very kind. He does not limit godly aspect to himself. He happily allows us to be godlike in our own way, right? It might not be fully, but in our own way. The closer we are to Krishna, the more godlike nature we have. Now, for that, we don't need to die. Even in this world, there are so many people, right? There are so many devotees of the Lord who are very connected to the Lord. Like when I uh, hug my mentor, for me, it's like, wow, he's so spiritually awakened. He's so close to Krishna, right? Krishna's right here in his heart. And by hugging him that much close, I am to Krishna. This is such an amazing thing. When I was even further younger, when I heard about my spiritual master, not my spiritual master, any guru is the external manifestation of super soul. Uh, and I was like, wow. I would not look at his face, I would look at his chest. It's like Supsul is right there, and it's so pronounced because he's a pure devotee of the Lord. So the presence of the Supreme Lord is so strong. So even like, any opportunity I would get, I would just like get anything, like whether touch his bag or like touch his finger, like he would put like flash drive in the laptop. I would try to help. And at the time to help, I will just touch him. I'm like, oh, this is such a sanctified body. Krishna is present here. Right? Of course, I was immature. I'm not telling you should do that. That's very immature. But the idea is correct. The idea is this is a person who is so pure, and that Krishna is everyone's heart, but then in his heart, Krishna is so manifest, right? Uh, and everything that belongs to him is sanctified because of Krishna's presence. He's using everything in Krishna's service, his mind, body, intelligence, everything. So it's a spiritualized form. And that's why when Vaishnava saints pass away, we don't burn their body, we bury their body, because that body is supposed to be sanctified. That's a very holy thing. So when we went to Vrindavan, you saw Rupa Goswami Samadhi, uh, you saw Jiva Goswami Samadhi, Sanatan Goswami Samadhi. Why those samadhis are where their body is actually buried, and we worship those places because that body has been used in service to Krishna, and in that body, there is the presence of the Lord, and it's so sanctified. So just like when Lord Jagannath, when he is from old deity of Jagannath to new deity of Jagannath, the Nabhi Brahman is transferred because they say it's the material. Krishna never had a material body, but still, the Nabhi, the what is this called in English? Anyway, I'm forgetting. Right? So it's like a part of Krishna's body. When that bard shot Krishna's feet, Krishna left a material body for the atheist to believe that he was just another human being. Imagine Krishna dying from a arrow, that also to the feet. Even you and I won't die from an arrow on the feet, right? But that's what Krishna left. Third canto Bhagavatam we will read. Krishna left that for the atheist to believe that he was just a commoner, right? And from that body, apparently there was that Nabhi Brahman that they shift. So it is considered such a huge thing, right? What to speak of the places of Vrindavan where Lord Krishna's feet has touched, right? Govardhan hill that he lifted with his own hand. So all these things we consider so sacred. Now imagine, same way, the pure devotee, their body, their uchishta, food eaten by them, their used beads, their neck beads, their things they touch, the dust from their lotus feet, their shoes, all of these things are so wonderful because it's like, the presence of Krishna is so strong. Just like the presence of Krishna is so strong at Govardhan, Vrindavan, Varsada, and all these places, so is it, in the form of these pure devotees and their forms. Uh, I'm digressing, but I'm just sharing. I had the great fortune of an interaction with Radhara Swami. So Radhara Swami, when he comes to America, there's a lot less crowd. In India, all temples get filled and everything. You can't even see him. But when he comes to America, it's much less, and thus, devotees get access to him. So I had the great fortune of being the Dwarpalikas of ISKCON Chicago, right? All my services was outside the temple. So like Hare Krishna, welcome to ISKCON Chicago. So Maharaj would always pass by, and Yashodanandan, my best friend, would be on the other side of the door doing the same thing. But he would hug Maharaj. I never could open my arms. So I had this desire to serve Maharaj, do something where I could touch, something that belongs to him. So one devotee one day gave me his shoes. He said, Maharaj is inside. Everybody tries to touch his shoes. Who knows? Somebody might take his shoes. So you keep it in the gift store. I said, okay. Kept it in the gift store. I was taking dust from his shoes and, touching my head every 5 minutes. And those who are my close friends, I would ask them, come, have something here. Maharaj's shoes, take the dust, put them on their head. And then when Maharaj was leaving, I never get to interact with him. So somebody asked for the shoes. I said, no, I will directly go give it to him. I took the shoes. I went to Maharaj. I put it at his lotus feet. And Radhanath Maharaj, and I looked up at him like this. He looked down at me and he gestured, like, put it on. So I took the shoes and I put it on his lotus feet. And obviously, my hand touched his lotus feet. And I was just so grateful because my Guru Maharaj would never let me touch his feet, right? He will denounce me probably if I do that. But then Guru Maharajas are much more merciful to disciples of other gurus, right? That because they're strict with their own disciples, but they're kind to the disciple fathers. And I just touched Maharaj's feet, put it on my head. Maharaj looked at me, he smiled, and all of Radhanath Maharaj's disciples looking at me with so much envy in their eyes, like, how fortunate is this person? Of course, not envy, it's just transcendental envy. But they were like, you are so fortunate. We can't do that. But you have, like, yes, I'm very fortunate. Right. So, what is it? No, an outsider won't understand these sentiments because they don't understand how special these personalities are, especially proper disciples. Because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur came to Srila Prabhupada, after leaving his body. He appeared to Srila Prabhupada and then, why aren't you taking sannyas? Please take sannyas, go to the West. All of these wonderful associates of Lord Chaitanya, wonderful personalities have taken birth. They have already taken birth. They are here to help you in your movement. You kindly just go to the West, translate the books. People are ready. You go country by country. The devotees have already taken birth. They will help you spread. So these are Prabhupada disciples who are special personalities who have taken birth on this planet just to spread the Hare Krishna movement. In fact, about Jayapataka Maharaj, Prabhupada himself said that Jayapataka Maharaj is an associate of Lord Chaitanya. When Indira Gandhi asked, why are these American people wanting Indian citizenship? Because India at that time, during Indira Gandhi's time, was one of the poorest countries in the world. And America was obviously rich as it is and looking down upon everybody else. And Indira Gandhi was worried about CIA and all of that. She asked Prabhupada, why are these American boys wanting to be Indian citizen? What do we have to offer them? Prabhupada said, because he specifically talked about Jayapataka Maharaj. He said, because he's associate of Lord Chaitanya. And she's like, what do you say to that? But that was Prabhupada's understanding, right? Bhakti Charu Maharaj, Prabhupada said he gave him first initiation, second initiation, third initiation, all in one go, right? So Harinam Diksha, Brahman Diksha, Sannyas Diksha, done. And then somebody asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, he's just a young boy. You're giving him initiation, all three initiation in one go. What if he falls down? Prabhupada said, well, if he falls down, he'll fall into Satyaguna. So it is already so transcendental. If Bhaktichara Maharaj falls down, he will fall into Sattva-guna. Right? So these were the kind of appreciation that Srila Prabhupada had for his disciples. And these are the kind of personalities that are the pure devotees who are the gurus of ISKCON, great personalities. So we are very fortunate when we have access to such personalities. And if we can do some service to them, if we can, get access to them, it is tremendous. So here, we are hearing about Narad Muni, in his past life, having left that body, he was gifted a transcendental body, befitting an associate of the personality of Godhead. Okay, next verse. Any questions so far? Okay. Anybody wants to read? Text 29. Okay, Sneha Mataji.
कल्पान्त इदम् अदाय शयाने अम्भस्य उद्वन्त शीश ईशोर अनुप्राण विविशे अंतर अहम विभो. At the end of the millennium, when the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayana, lay down within the water after devastation, Brahma began to enter into him along with all the creative elements, and I also entered through his breathing.
Okay. So at the end of the millennium, when the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayana, lay down within the water of devastation, Brahma began to enter into him along with all creative elements. And I also entered through his breathing. So Lord Brahma's birth is being spoken about now. His father, Narad Muni's father, right? So end of the millennium, when the personality of Godhead lay down in the water of devastation. Was it water of devastation? Karada water on which the universe kind of floats. That's the water of devastation. So Brahma began to enter into him along with all the creative elements and also entered through his breathing. Narad is known as the son of Brahma, as Lord Krishna is known as the son of Vasudeva. The personality of Godhead and his liberated devotees like Narada appear in the material world by the same process as it is said in the Bhagavad Gita. The birth and activities of the Lord are transcendental. Therefore, according to authorized opinion, the birth of Narada as a son of Brahma is also a transcendental pastime. His appearance and disappearance are practically on the same level as that of the Lord. Imagine that. Practically on the same level as that of the Lord. The Lord and his devotees are therefore simultaneously one and different as spiritual entities. They belong to the same category of transcendence. So in this case, Janma Karma e Divyam Jo Janati Tattvataha. So Janma Karma of Krishna is Divyam, it's transcendental. Krishna appears in four-armed form, then he becomes a baby and tells, of course, as a four-armed form, he tells Vasudeva to take, instructs him, and then becomes a baby in Vasudeva's arm. Same way, Narad Muni also, although son of Brahma apparently, but it's not through some kind of insemination process. It is a transcendental birth, right? Where he appears on this planet with his father, Lord Brahma. So he, just like Lord Vishnu is appearing, Brahmaji is also appearing, Narad Muni is also appearing with them. So it's very similar to how Krishna's Janma Karma is, appearances. It's 1630. Sahasra Yoga Paryante Uthaidam Shishrik Krishata Marichi Misra Rasaya Pranepyo Hamcha Jajnire. After, wow, what is that? 43 million? Unit tens, 100,000, 10,000. Okay, that's a lot, big number. Okay, 4300000000 solar years, when Brahma awoke to create again. I think it's 43 billion years, huh? After 43 billion solar years, when Brahma awoke to create again by the will of the Lord, all the rishis like Marichi, Angira, Atri, and so on were created from the transcendental body of the Lord, and so I appeared along with them, right? So when the partial annihilation happens, after that, again, Brahma starts the creative process, and from the body of the Lord, he is creating all these great rishis, and so does Narad Muni appear. So that way, Narad Muni is his son. But Narad Muni is a liberated soul, Nitya Siddha personality.
Prabhuji,
Yes?
Prabhuji, but Narad Muni does not have a material body, right? So he won't die, or
Hmm.
at
Yeah.
the end of
If he had a material body, he wouldn't be able to go to Vaikuntha. So yeah, he does have a
correct.
spiritual body. Yeah.
So basically, he appears and disappears, but he doesn't take like birth and dies and then reappears, right?
Correct. So he's a very special personality, like Lord Shiva. So Lord
Yes.
Shiva lives in his dham, and the Rudras, they also are residing there. So the 12 Rudras, they appear from Rudra Loka to Devi Dham when there is destruction required, and they go back again, meditating over there. So same way, there are these special personalities, Hanuman, Lord Shiva, Narad Muni, who have very special categories. They don't fall into the boxes. They have their own categories.
Got it. Got it.
Since then, by the grace of Almighty Vishnu, I travel everywhere without restriction, both in the transcendental world and in the three divisions of the material world. Three divisions as in upper planetary system, middle planetary system, and lower planetary system. This is because I am fixed in unbroken devotional service of the Lord. Who can say that, right? Who can say that? But Narad Muni can say that. That because he's fixed in unbroken devotional service of the Lord, he has unrestricted access to transcendental world and the three divisions of the material world. That's what it gives you. Devadattam imam vinam swara brahma vibhushitam murchetva harikatham gayam gayamanas charamiyaham. And thus I travel constantly, singing the transcendental message of the glories of the Lord, vibrating this instrument called a veena, which is charged with transcendental sound and which was given to me by Lord Krishna. So Narad Muni is traveling constantly, singing the transcendental message of the glories of the Lord. So Lord Chaitanya wasn't doing something new. What Lord Chaitanya was doing, Narad Muni also has been doing. Lord Shiva has been doing. Lord Shiva has so many pastimes where he is glorifying the Lord, traveling and glorifying the Lord. I had the great fortune of witnessing something that doesn't happen very easily. So in Mayapur, I didn't ever know there was a place called Hamsa Vahana, where when Lord Chaitanya was speaking Shrimad Bhagavatam, imagine Lord Chaitanya speaking Shrimad Bhagavatam. So Lord Shiva came, but he came in Hamsavahana. He came in Lord Brahma's Hamsavahan, the swan carrier. And when he came, as he was hearing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's from his mouth, the pastimes of the Lord, he went into ecstasy and he fainted. And he fainted on his Hamsavahan. So there is a self-manifested deity of a swan with Lord Shiva actually lying on that swan. So as I was coming back from Mayapur yesterday, I was told by the devotees, Prabhuji, please stay back because there's something special happening. So Jayapataka Maharaj got a dream from Hamsavahan Mahadev that he wants to visit Mayapur. And Jayapataka Maharaj informed the devotees who were taking care of this temple, and they made arrangements so that that deity could be brought to Mayapur. And with all the glory and pomp and everything, Hamsavahan Mahadev was brought in and he was placed in a very beautiful pandal. And Jayapataka Maharaj did wonderful worship and abhishek. And I had the privilege of going there and taking picture for all of you. So I'll share the picture in the group right after this. We're very close. I took darshan of the deity form. So Lord Shiva, not only does he like to chant the glories of the Lord, he's always chanting on beats, but he also wants to hear about the glories. And sometimes he faints in ecstasy, hearing about the Supreme Lord. Right? So any devotee, that is the nature. So he's the best of devotees, right? Just like Radharani is the best of devotees, Lord Shiva is the best of yogis. So Balaram is the best amongst, devotees in the service mood. So there's so many bests of devotees out there. And you see the commonality amongst them is the mood, the hankering for glorifying the Lord, serving the Lord, and sharing the glories of the Lord. And that's why, for me personally, preaching is my favorite service. Not that I'm capable of doing anything else, to be honest. I can't play mridanga, do kartal, or sing, or do anything. Book distribution. I don't have any of those skills. But the one thing that I have been doing, whether I have it or not, is the ability to kind of share Krishna Katha to people in their own sweet way that they can understand and appreciate, even to a little degree, whether it's devotees, whether it's Muslims, Christians, politicians, bureaucrats, wherever I go. A few days ago, today also I was having a meeting with Saurav Ganguly. So a few days ago, I met him for the second time, and I gifted him a Bhagavad Gita, right? Uh, because that's what devotees do. We share Krishna Gatha wherever we go. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to meet him again. Today I met him again, and slowly, in these relationships and these connections, Krishna has given me the opportunity to meet with nice, established people, and I'm a devotee, and at least aspiring to be. So my role is to, I don't know how to glorify, but then give the gifts of Srila Prabhupada, that Srila Prabhupada has glorified Krishna. Take it and make your life better. So that's the principle. So preaching is a very, very important principle that you will see is common amongst Krishna's dearest devotees. Like whether it's Narad Muni, whether it's Lord Shiva, whether it's Balaram, whether it's Lord Nityananda, whether it's Sudama, any devotee you see, they're glorifying Krishna, they're talking about him, they're preaching others, they're sharing Krishna's glory with others, they're chanting the holy name. And by doing so, you become dear to Krishna. And when you're dear to Krishna, what worry do we have, right? Life is good. So that's our understanding. That's what we will see in Bhagavatam over and over and over again, that the holy name is being glorified. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in Kali Yuga, came and helped us kind of rift through all the sound that's out there and just focus on the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and focus on chanting of the holy name as Yuga Dharma, because there is nothing more powerful than chanting of the holy name, and there's nothing more powerful about sharing that holy name, sharing Krishna's glories with others. So with that, I will end today's Bhagavatam class. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. See you next Friday. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.